Hi, and welcome to 52 Weeks of Horror, where we are making that scary. And today we are going to Netflix it. What is that? Well, let's be honest. There are a lot of horror movies out there, and not all of them are good. In fact, there's quite a few that are just kind of bad. Just bad. But I don't feel that they're beyond hope. And we are going to watch a movie on Netflix, and we are going to basically rewrite it. I am a professional screenwriter. It's what I do. And also, I work in television. I'm good at picking up story. And so that's what I like to do. I like to watch bad horror films and I like to deconstruct them and figure out where they went wrong and how we can fix them. And so that's going to be this series. We're going to Netflix it, right? And today we are going to start with the Ouija Experiment. Now, let's start with the good, right? There's some good moments to this film. There were moments of tension when the camera operator, camera person, whomever it would be, sometimes male, female, whatever, would be walking through an area and we'd hear like a child laugh, and we'd kind of have these moments of like, ooh, what's coming up? You know, and it wasn't just a typical jump scare. Now there were jump scares, and I, generally speaking, don't like them unless they use effectively, but there weren't too many in this, so I will let those go. Um, and there was a cheap one at the beginning who stupidly got me too. There were some good moments, some creepy, tense moments. Some of the moments with the board were cool, you know? They're sitting there, they're talking to the ghosts, the spirit, and the board is going back and forth. And it was cool. I think it was overdone, and it could have gone faster. They could have asked one or two questions as opposed to, who are you? Where are you? Blah blah blah. Whatever. You know, it was. Let's cut it back a little bit, but I feel like they were trying to get some time in. The setup for the rules were good. You know, we set up rules. You know, you couldn't ask the ghosts how they died because they would relive it, I guess, over in their minds over and over and over again. You couldn't ask how you were going to die, and at the end, you always have to say goodbye. Right? Those are the rules. The only problem, though, and we're going to get to the bad in just a moment, is that once you set the rules, you have to break them. I mean, that's it. You have to break them, because why set rules if you're not going to break them? Right? For example, don't feed them after midnight. Don't get them wet. And don't expose them to light, especially sunlight that'll kill them. It's from Gremlins, right? And we see what happens with all those. First, the Mogwai gets wet, and they pop out little Mogwai, gremlin things, and then they eat after midnight, and they become gremlins. And by the end, we see how Stripe is killed with sunlight. So we set up these rules, and then we break them. The setup of the rules was great, but the only rule they ever broke was the not saying goodbye. Now, the bad. Found footage. If you're gonna do found footage, and that's okay, you have to stick to the found footage, right? You have to justify your camera angles. You know, you can't just have these moments and these scenes that happen and yeah, they put a camera in there, but does it add to the story? Does it make sense someone would have a camera in that scene? I mean, there's a scene where Calvin was trying to get on with Shay, and he's setting up a camera for X-Tube or whatever. And it was all set up so that she could find a card in his pocket. You could have shown that, done that scene elsewhere. And then in Act 3, they have a flashback scene. Why is there a flashback scene in a found footage movie? Who was shooting a flashback scene? There's a mother washing her kid in the bathtub. Who is shooting this? Yeah, they show the guy, he's reading the book, scrapbook, I guess, about how someone was killed and where he got the scrapbook, I don't know, but hey, whatever. But yeah, he's reading the scrapbook, and suddenly it shifts to a flashback. You lost me. Just go with a straight film. Lock the camera down, put it on a tripod, have someone with a steady cam, and just go through it and make a movie. Don't try to do all these fancy little camera tricks and angles and, oh, I'm going to figure out how I'm going to put this camera in a scene here and then flashback. Really? Also, the guy who was filming this was I think he mentioned he was going to film school at some point, and he was filming interviews. I mean, I work in television. We don't shoot interviews like this, right? We don't look directly down the barrel of a camera most of the time when people are giving interviews. You watch any reality TV show, they're kind of off to the corner like so, and they're looking just past, right? Or kind of over here, just past, towards usually an interviewer who's sitting right off to the side, right? Because this, looking down the barrel, I mean, it's talking to you, but sometimes it can be uncomfortable towards the person who is giving their interview and sometimes the audience. They're like, oh, someone's looking directly at me. It's weird. So yeah, note to self, if you're ever doing an interview scene, just off camera. The characters were very inconsistent. I mean, we have Michael who's set up at the beginning who doesn't like cameras for some reason. Like, he's just against cameras. But by the end, he is not only carrying around a camera, but he is looking directly into a camera being like, hey, what's up, sexy? And, you know, and then by the end, he's flips the camera around. I mean, he's dead, but there's the camera in the mirror. So he's actively using the camera. Yeah, so, and then Calvin and Lynette, like, they're brother and sister. I mean, they're the coldest brother and sisters I've ever known. I mean, look, I'm an only child. I've seen other people interact with their brothers and sisters, and they're usually friendly. They're cool with them. That, you know, they're friendly, and compassionate. These two, they did not seem like brother and sister. In fact, they're constantly making fun of each other. And at one point, when they're walking in towards Calvin's house, he's dead, and Lynette is, or Lynette, whatever. Lynette is, you know, concerned maybe at this point. She's like, brother, brother, brother. Who calls their brother brother? You call him Calvin. You use their names. You know, maybe you have a nickname for your brother or sister. You use that. That's what you do. You don't say brother, brother, brother. That's the most unbrother sister thing to say. The acting. This is not an acting show, but oh, lordy, 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 that was rough. That was rough. If the person cannot talk and read their lines, don't just force them to hit these particular points if they can't do it. Have them make up their own line. Anyway, enough of that. That's enough. So let's talk about the guru, Casey. What was that? She is there briefly. She seems to like be the one person who knows how to do the Ouija board stuff, though she's playing around with a planchette the entire time, weirdly. I don't think anyone who would believe in the power of a Ouija board or a spirit board. It's another thing. They're not all Ouija boards. They're called spirit boards. Ouija board is the version of one particular type. That said, anyway, you know, if you're playing around with a planchette and if you believe in the spirit board, why are you holding the planchette being like, I don't even do that with mine. I don't believe in him. But anyway, that's that. And then she tells us things that we already know. And then the friends were just obnoxious. The one guy was like, oh, I have a crush on her. But then they pretty much cock blocked him. What was the point of that? And then there's the ending. That doesn't make sense. They set up earlier on in the film that the board is a gateway to the spirit world, and yet when they burn the board, the ghost is destroyed? That doesn't make any sense. No one ever said if you destroy the board, you destroy the ghost. Is the ghost destroyed? I don't know. It looks destroyed. She just kind of burns up like a vampire in daylight. But that doesn't destroy the good ghosts. There's two good ghosts there, so they're not destroyed. What was the point of burning the Ouija board? How did it only kill one ghost, but not the other ghosts? I don't know. Didn't make sense. That's said. That's done. So how do we fix this? Well, let's look at their logline. Well, at least the synopsis logline thing that they put on IMDb. So let's go off that. Right? Five friends decide. I had to write this down. Five friends decide to videotape their experimental session with a Ouija board in an attempt to create a viral video that is sure to make them famous. Personal drama causes members of the group to forget to maintain focus on the game's important rules and soon fall prey to the evil entities that occupy the board. And that's the story. That's the story that was told. And that's the problem, obviously. So what we have to do is we have to create a new log line. And first what we want to do is figure out who the main character is. If you watch the film, I don't know who the main character really is. I think it's Michael. I would say it's Michael, but it's kind of boring. I mean, like I say, he starts off not liking the camera, and then suddenly by the end he's liking the camera. Is that his arc? It's a boring arc. I don't like cameras, but suddenly by the end I'm okay with them. You know, there's a brief moment where he mentions coming out of the closet, but is he gay? Does that go anywhere? It doesn't really happen. I mean, nothing happens with that. So why was that even in there? Like, it was kind of one of those weird, what's the point of that line? And I know what you're going to say, but it's an ensemble piece. There is no main character. There has to be. There always is one character who is kind of driving the plot forward, right? Yes, other characters may come in, they may help move the plot, but there's always one character that we're kind of rooting for. So let's figure out who our main character should be. I think we should make it Shay. She is the most interesting character in my opinion. She's the one who they say is rich. She starts off the movie. I mean, really, the camera turns on, there she is, and we find out that she's Calvin's girlfriend, and they're going to his best friend's house. It was kind of convoluted, but whatever. Let's make Shay our main character. Now, what is her flaw? Her flaw could be anything. Maybe she jumps in too early to relationships. Maybe she's too prideful of her wealth. But that seems kind of meh to this story. We're talking about a story where there's Ouija boards. We're talking about something on the other side. So let's make it something like she has trouble getting over the death of someone close, a loved one, right? So that would be a good thing that she has to overcome. She has to get over this death. So here's my idea for a new logline. Okay? Struggling with the death of her younger sister, Shay goes to a party with her friends, but when they use a Ouija board, Shay's convinced she is talking to her sister, and when things turn violent, Shay must learn to let go before the unleashed evil consumes her and her friends. It's simple, it's to the point, and now we have clear motivation. We have a death in the family, right? Shay is convinced that she is talking to her younger sister. It could be anyone, really, but let's just call it the younger sister, right? Sounds pretty good. That would be intense if you could talk to a loved one, you know? She could feel almost obsessed about talking to this person, and other people are starting to be like, whoa, Shay, hang on, take it easy. But she's like, no, I must talk to this. But as she does this, you know, things start to get weirder and weirder and weirder. And as the relationships build up and break down, also so do the ghosts and the spirits and the evil entities. And eventually we find out that this is not the sister of Shay. This is something else who has taken this form to consume them in their consume their souls, if you will, consume whom they are, to allow themselves to go into the darkness where they will then be easy prey for a malevolent ghost. I think that's how you could do it. That's how you could solve the issues of this film. So let me know what you think. If you have any ideas what your log line would be for the Ouija experiment, and let me know. Tell me if you like this, and I will continue to do more Netflix-its in the future. So thank you so much, and remember to make that scary.